If you're planning to move to Southwest Florida, you may be asking yourself, which city is better, Northport in Sarasota County or Port Charlotte in Charlotte County? Well, both cities have many different things to offer, but there are some key differences that you need to know about, and that's exactly what we are going to dive into today in this video. Hey friends, it's Noah, your favorite Northport real estate broker. I'm super excited to bring this video to you because I get asked this question so much is, Noah, should I move to the Northport area or the Port Charlotte area? What are honestly some of the differences, right? So we are going to dive into house prices here in the Northport area, locations, activities, schools, and everything basically you need to know about these cities to see if these key differences are going to sway you into, I'm going to choose Northport or I'm going to choose Port Charlotte. But before we jump in and talk about the differences between those two cities, if you're looking to move to the Northport area, we have a dedicated relocation guide for Northport. I'll drop the link down at the bottom of this description, but what it basically is sharing with you what Northport is all about so you don't have to book a flight. You guys can read this relocation guide from a perspective of basically a Northport resident to get an idea of the school systems here, the restaurants, the hotels, the things to do here, basically the beaches and everything like that. So go and check that out down below. It's 100% free for all of my viewers. And if you are looking to buy new construction in the Northport, Port Charlotte, Southwest Florida area, and you don't want to deal with all the headaches of building a house, going through the building process, picking out a lot, which lot's going to be the best, right? What we have done is we are working with all these builders here in Southwest Florida, Northport, Port Charlotte, and we're taking all their inventory to pilot into one centralized location so that you guys don't have to be spending all the time calling all these different builders to see if they have available inventory for the specific house specs that you are looking for. So once again, 100% free to join this email list. You guys can check that out in the link down below. But with all that being said, let's jump in and let's talk to you about Northport versus Port Charlotte. So we're going to kick this video off by talking about the overall general locations of both Northport and Port Charlotte. So Northport is located in Sarasota County, and I'll throw up a map where Northport is located. And then Port Charlotte is just a little bit south, and it is located in Charlotte County, the bordering county for Sarasota. The beauty is that Northport is one of the southernmost cities in Sarasota County that then butts right up against Charlotte County, which once again, that is going to be the city of Port Charlotte right there. So they're basically, these two cities are right next to each other, and you can just hop across the canalway and you're into one of the other cities, right? So if you are looking to move into the Northport area, Northport is very beneficial if you want the opportunity to build a new construction house, you know, if you want to buy land at a reasonable rate, and that you are a little bit closer to Sarasota. Like for example, I personally live in Sarasota myself, and it takes me about 30-35 minutes to get to the Northport area, while Port Charlotte, it's going to take me about 50 minutes, maybe even an hour to get to Port Charlotte, just depending on the traffic and everything like that. So Northport is definitely closer to more of the big city amenities like Sarasota, you know, a little bit closer to more of the well-renowned beaches like Siesta Key, Venice Beach, Nokomis, Minnesota Key, right? And Port Charlotte is really more for, you know, it has attracted a lot of people that are looking for a more relaxed lifestyle. They want to not be so close to the beach, but they still want to have access to the beach, right? So in Port Charlotte, you still have access to different beaches like Minnesota Key Beach. You can go to Boca Grande, and you can go to Inglewood. You can go to that beach as well. But in Port Charlotte, you're mainly closer to, you know, the Charlotte Harbor. You're more closer to inner canal waterways, right? So it's great if you're looking to be on the water, directly on the water. You want to own a boat. You want to have quick access to the Myakka River, the Charlotte Harbor, whatever that may be, so you guys can go out to go enjoy the Gulf of Mexico on your boat. But mainly, you know, a lot of people go to Port Charlotte for the fishing. So if you love fishing, Port Charlotte's definitely great. Northport, on the other hand, doesn't have very many saltwater-based canals. Now, there's a lot of freshwater canals in the Northport area, but don't get that confused with with saltwater canals, right? Because a lot of people say, no, I want to be on a canal. I love this canalway, but does it go to the Gulf of Mexico? Well, unfortunately, a lot of canals in Northport are just freshwater canals. They have nothing, they do not connect to the Gulf. They do not have any saltwater access, nothing like that. So that is the downside with Northport. But once again, Northport is located in Sarasota County. Port Charlotte is located in Charlotte County. So now, what are the differences between the populations of the two cities? So Northport is a very rapid, fast-growing city right now. It's getting a lot of media attention. Right now, 2 new articles have just came out about the Northport area saying that Northport is going to probably have one of the biggest price increases in the entire state of Florida. So that's something to look out for just because of the rapid growth the city of Northport is having and all the people that are actually looking to move from all across the country to come to Northport, because Northport is more of a rural setting. You're still close to those amenities like Sarasota that we were talking about, but yet you don't have to deal with any HOAs or anything like that. So that is another reason why Northport is growing so fast, is for the amazing opportunities that Northport offers. So Northport has that going for them, right? And Charlotte County and Port Charlotte, I guess, on the other hand, it has residents, about 64,000 residents. So, you have about 16,000 resident difference, which isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things, right? But Port Charlotte is not growing at the rapid growth that Northport is. One, Northport is located in Sarasota County, which is a fast-growing county here in Florida. Charlotte County, on the other hand, not so much. It's not growing as much as Sarasota County, but it is still growing. But like we said, that Port Charlotte, a lot of people are coming here for the retiring, more of a second house lifestyle and things like that. So there's not so many residents coming to Port Charlotte versus Northport. And as you guys can see here, I'm actually sitting in Port Charlotte right now, and I'm actually on one of the streets right now that doesn't have many houses, which has a lot of opportunity for growth, right? So if we look here, is that there's no houses around us, right? So you can build on any of these lots, and in fact, a lot of these lots are for sale. Lot prices here in the Charlotte County area, Port Charlotte area, range anywhere from $20,000 to $23,000, which still is very affordable in the grand scheme of things, because if you look at the nearest cities to them, Fort Myers, Sarasota, the prices are crazy for real estate there. So either Northport and Port Charlotte, they're both great buys in my personal opinion, and they're pretty close in relative population. It just depends on, do you want to be in Sarasota County or Charlotte County? And since we know that the Northport area is a rapidly growing city right now in Sarasota County, what does that mean for house prices? So now let's discuss the different house prices between Northport and Port Charlotte. So the average house price in Northport is $399,000, which in the grand scheme of things is actually really affordable if you look at it being so close to the coast, being so close to Sarasota, which Sarasota's average house price is over $500,000, and plus Northport is still under the median house price of the state of Florida. The state of Florida's median house price is around $403,000, $407,000. So as you guys can see, Northport is still under the median house price here in the state of Florida. But if you guys want to go even lower, we have Port Charlotte. So Port Charlotte has, the median house price is only $366,000 here in Port Charlotte. So both cities are actually relatively close to one another. They're about 30 grand off from one another, but they are still extremely affordable places to live here in Southwest Florida when you consider the major cities next to them, like Sarasota, Fort Myers, Tampa, you have Punta Gorda. You have all these other major cities here in Southwest Florida, and these two cities alone, they're tucked between Fort Myers and Sarasota, and everything right now. Here's the key thing to understand, is that there's a lot of new construction happening both in Northport and Port Charlotte, but what a lot of people are not seeing is that a lot of people first check out Sarasota, find out it's way too expensive for what they're looking for. Realistically, you can't even get into a new construction house for under $600,000, a single family residence. And then people are looking for Myers, but they don't like Fort Myers as much because the beaches aren't as nice, right? So what we're seeing is those people from Fort Myers are pushing north. The people from Sarasota are pushing south. What is left in the middle is Port Charlotte and Northport, which in fact, I literally looked at the average house price in Northport like a month and 2 months ago, and right now the average house price has gone up about $8,000 to $9,000 in just a couple months alone, right? So obviously there are different variables in play with, the relative average median home price here in the Northport area. But what is crazy is all the new construction that is happening here in Northport and Port Charlotte, to not to mention, basically, is one, both areas, Northport and Port Charlotte, they have very affordable lot prices. Northport, I can pick up lots right now for $17,000 to $21,000. Port Charlotte, I can pick up lots between let's say just $18,000 to $22,000, somewhere around there, give or take, just depending on the different areas of Port Charlotte. But once again, the building costs too are relatively affordable. We're working with a lot of strategic partnerships right now for our investors and for our custom house builds as well, since we are building in the Northport, Port Charlotte area, is that we are trying to get house prices, building costs and everything like that as low as we possibly can, so that it makes it more affordable for people like you who are looking to either invest in buying in real estate or build their custom dream house, right? So either one, we are working on getting those prices down low, and right now we are so close to getting it, so I'm super excited for that. But once again, the two cities are pretty close in terms of real estate, but in my personal opinion, Northport just has a lot more growth opportunity with all the new construction happening, with all the jobs that are coming there, with Welland Park that's going there, with Costco coming in, with the new Sarasota Memorial Hospital being built. There's just a lot more growth happening in the Northport area versus the Port Charlotte area, which in my personal opinion that's going to drive up real estate prices in Northport versus Port Charlotte. So now let's discuss the overall school systems in both Northport and Port Charlotte. And let me preface this by saying this is not my personal opinion. This is rather information from niche.com, greatschools.org. I'll link them down below so you guys can go check out all the information yourself. But with that being said, we're going to talk about the differences in school systems between the two, right? So Northport really has its own school system, its own city school system, while Port Charlotte is more relying on Charlotte County school systems, right? So Northport, the city of Northport has their own school systems, and then Port Charlotte goes by the Charlotte County school systems, right? And there's a lot of great schools in both cities, right? You can't go wrong with either city in terms of the school system. But if you look at greatschools.org, niche.com, or any of these other, school rating websites or any news articles, Sarasota County ranks the second highest county in the entire state of Florida for the highest test records and the best school systems in the state of Florida, right? So I think that's something very crucial to know, because we have some of the best school systems in Sarasota County. We have Pineview School District, which that is the second best school alone in the state of Florida, right? So I think that's also what's increasing Sarasota's ranking, is that we have a lot of the top schools in the state located in Sarasota County. Now, I'm not saying that Port Charlotte is any worse, because both cities are very comparable in school systems. The major difference is that Sarasota just has a little bit higher of school rankings versus Charlotte County. But once again, overall, there's a lot of different school options for Northport for both elementary, middle, high school. There's a lot of different options for Port Charlotte for middle, elementary, and high school as well. So I think it's a pretty equal trade between the two cities for the school systems. So the final topic we're going to talk about is the overall activities between Northport and Port Charlotte. They do have a lot of the main similarities. So both are more of a rural setting, but I would say Port Charlotte, it has more of a city center, so to speak, versus Northport. Now, Northport does have different shopping. We have Dick's Sporting Goods. We even have Crumble Cookie here in Northport, right? Which I'll throw up a video to show you guys a little bit about the overall area, but there's not really a core city center for Northport. Sure, we have a main hub, but it's not as crazy as like Sarasota, for example, like downtown Sarasota. We don't really have a true downtown in Northport. Now, Port Charlotte has a different setting, right? They're more so, they have the mall there. They just have more of a city setting, in my personal opinion. So Northport is more of a rural area. It's really meant for people that are looking to get away from the hustle and bustle from like these bigger cities like Sarasota, the traffic and all that, right? And, it's mainly like it's living an outdoor active lifestyle in Northport. Sure, we don't have beaches directly in Northport, but they're still very close. They're about 14 to 15 miles away from the city of Northport as well. But if you like hiking, biking, walking, anything like that, we have a state park in Northport. We have Myakka State Park. There's just a lot of different things. While Port Charlotte, on the other hand, in my personal opinion, it's very close to a fishing community, so to speak. Even though Punta Gorda is the true fishing community, a lot of people like to live in Port Charlotte just because of the waterways that connect to the Gulf, everything like that. That's a huge draw for a lot of people looking to move to the Port Charlotte area. Port Charlotte also has some different golf courses. Same with Northport. We have a few golf courses here in Northport, but Port Charlotte does have a few more golf courses as well. So if you love golfing, you can't go wrong with either city. There's still great options in both cities as well. But like I said, the activities are pretty much the same, except there's more fishing opportunity towards Port Charlotte than there is in the Northport area. So with all that being said, that kind of concludes the differences between Northport and Port Charlotte. I want to hear from you guys. After hearing kind of the major differences and similarities between the two cities. Which one would you choose to move to? Would you want to move to Northport? Would you want to move to Port Charlotte? And kind of what are some of the reasons what you guys would think about why you would move to Port Charlotte or why you would move to the Northport area? But don't forget, guys, if you are looking to move to the Northport area, we have a relocation guide for that down in the description down below. And if you're looking for a new construction house, don't want to deal with the headache of calling all these different builders, we have the inventory list as well. You guys can go check out that link down at the bottom of the description down below. But once again, thanks guys so much for checking out this video, and we will catch you guys all next week.